There is a line from Jean-Paul Sartre that should be branded into the forehead of every man who is still waiting for permission to begin. He wrote, "I have led a toothless life, a toothless life. I have never bitten into anything. I was waiting. I was reserving myself for later on. And I have just noticed that my teeth have gone." Read that again, slowly, because that line is not literature. It is an autopsy. It is a man cracking open his own chest at the end of his life and showing you that inside there was no courage. There was only postponement. There was only the comfortable illusion that tomorrow would be the right day. And tomorrow never came. This video is about the men who die with their teeth still intact because they never bit into anything. And if you feel like you are living that way right now, if you feel like you are saving your best version for a moment that never arrives, stay until the end. Because what comes next is not cheap motivation. It is a diagnosis. And diagnoses hurt. Before we go any further, if this channel makes sense to you, subscribe now, hit the bell, and leave a like. We do not say what is comfortable here. We say what is necessary. Fear is the most well-constructed illusion your mind has ever created. It looks like an ocean. When you stare at that decision you need to make, that leap you need to take, that conversation you need to have, fear presents itself as an infinite mass of dark water with no bottom and no visible shore on the other side. And every cell in your body screams at you not to step in. Your stomach tightens, your breathing shortens, and you retreat the way you have always retreated. But here is the truth that nobody told you. Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. That is it. This enormous thing that looks like an abyss is actually a puddle in disguise. And the moment you take the first step into it, you realize you are not drowning. You realize the water barely covers your ankles. And you can keep walking, step after step, even if you get a little wet. Seneca wrote 2,000 years ago that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. 2,000 years, and the modern man is still exactly the same, still building imaginary oceans inside his own head and calling it caution. It is not caution. It is cowardice with a respectable name. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during a plague that killed 5 million people, with barbarians pressing against the borders and traitors sitting inside his own senate. And he wrote in his private journals that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He never said that fear disappears. He said you walk through it, and that by walking through it, you become someone who no longer needs to be afraid, because you have already proven to yourself that you are capable of crossing. Now let me talk about something that is going to be deeply uncomfortable for most people listening to this. You want to be exceptional. I know you do. It is in your eyes when you see someone who has built something remarkable. It is in the tightness you feel in your chest when you open social media and see someone living the life you have been quietly wishing for. You want that. But at the same time, you want to be normal. You want to be accepted. You want your friends to understand you. You want your family to approve of your decisions. You want to fit in. And here is the paradox that Nietzsche identified better than any other thinker in history. You cannot fit in and be exceptional at the same time. It is mathematically impossible. The very word exceptional means you are an exception. It means you are outside the rule, outside the pattern, outside the herd. And the herd does not applaud those who leave. The herd attacks those who leave. Because every time someone walks away, it is a silent reminder to everyone who stayed that they could have left too. and chose not to. So there are two types of discomfort in life, and you are going to have to pick one. The first is internal discomfort. It is what you feel when you fit in, when you follow the script that society handed you, when you do what is expected, when you take the safe job, the predictable routine, the approved opinions. On the outside, everything looks fine, but on the inside, there is a quiet war. A voice that tells you every single night before you fall asleep that this is not you, that you are playing a role in a theater you never even chose. The second discomfort is external. It is what you feel when you decide to be who you really are, when you make decisions that others do not understand, when you pour yourself into something that nobody around you values, when your old friends start telling you that you have changed. And here is the part that stings. When your friends say you have changed, what they actually mean is that you have grown. And the growth of a man is threatening to everyone who decided to stay still. Pick your discomfort, but pick it with full awareness, because one of them takes you somewhere. The other is just suffering with no destination. I am going to tell you something that is rarely said out loud. Nobody roots for you before the victory. Nobody. When you are on the path, alone, too different from the friends you currently have, but not successful enough to be around the people you admire, that is the exact moment you need support the most. That is when you desperately want someone to look at you and say, "Keep going, you are on the right track." But nobody says it, because nobody sees it, because the exceptional path is by definition an empty road, and the silence on that road is deafening. Then, when you finally win, when the results show up, when the numbers grow, when the money rolls in, suddenly everyone appears, everyone claps, everyone says they always believed in you. But that is exactly the moment when you need that applause the least. Because you already won. You already proved to yourself what you needed to prove. And the irony is so cruel, it is almost comedic. People only root for those who no longer need it. And the ones who need it, the ones in the middle of the crossing, the ones bleeding through the process, they stay alone. So what do? You clap for yourself. You are the audience and the performer at the same time. It is a lonely applause in an empty auditorium. And for a very, very long time, that is all there is. Just you, alone, clapping for yourself while the rest of the world does not even know you exist. Schopenhauer once said that every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. The people around you cannot see what you see, not because they are bad people, but because their field of vision is limited by their own experience. And if their experience is mediocrity, then everything that falls outside of mediocrity looks like madness to them. It is not madness. It is vision. And vision, before it is validated by results, is always mistaken for delusion. There is an experiment conducted at a university that destroyed the illusion of perfectionism forever. A ceramics professor split his class into two groups. He told the first group, "Your final grade depends on one single thing. You have the entire semester to create one perfect clay pot. That is it. One pot. Perfect." He told the second group something entirely different. "Your final grade depends on the total quantity of pots you produce. Quality does not matter. Only the total weight of clay that comes out of your hands." At the end of the semester, something happened that should be taught in every school on Earth. The group that had to produce volume, the group that only needed to make the largest quantity possible, did not just make more pots. They made better pots. More beautiful, more symmetrical, more refined. Better in every single measurable way than the pots made by the group that spent the entire semester trying to craft one perfect piece. And why? Because the volume group learned from every mistake. Every crooked pot, every crack, every failure taught them something. Their hands got smarter with each attempt. The clay started obeying by instinct, not by theory. Meanwhile, the perfection group stayed paralyzed. They spent their time thinking, planning, theorizing, imagining the perfect pot without ever getting their hands dirty enough for their hands to learn on their own. And this is perhaps the single most important lesson I will say in this entire video. Volume negates luck. You can try to be lucky. You can try to nail it on the first attempt. You can spend months planning the perfect moment, the perfect strategy, the perfect entry point. Or you can simply do so much work, so much volume, so many attempts, that it becomes statistically unreasonable for you not to succeed. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a violent river that floods and destroys everything in its path. But the prudent man builds dams and channels while the river is calm. Volume is your dam. Every attempt is a brick. And when luck finally comes, and it does come, you have the structure to capture it. The perfectionist has nothing, just beautiful plans and clean hands. Now I need you to hear this with every ounce of honesty you are capable of. Stop complaining about the results you did not get from the work you did not do. Read that again. The results you did not get from the work you did not do. There is a brutal dishonesty in wanting something and refusing to pay the price. And yet, that is exactly how the majority of people live. They want the body, but they do not want the training. They want the business, but they do not want the sleepless nights. They want financial freedom, but they do not want the discipline. They want the view from the top of the mountain, but they do not want the climb. Everybody wants the view. Nobody wants the ascent. And then they resent the ones who made it to the summit. They envy the trophy, but not the arena. The result, but not the process. The medals, but not the scars. And here is a truth that Nietzsche framed so elegantly, it almost hurts. Everyone is jealous of what you have. No one is jealous of how you got it, because the how is ugly. The how is dirty. The how is sleeping 4 hours a night. The how is skipped meals. The how is loneliness, doubt, fear, and the constant question of whether you made the right call with absolutely no way to know the answer for years. This is what hard feels like. And that is okay, because everything worth doing is hard, and the more worth doing it is, the harder it is. And if it is hard, good. It means most people will not do it. More for you. There is a mental trap that destroys more lives than any addiction, any disease, any external tragedy. It is the trap of wanting the result without accepting the process. Nietzsche called it resentment. Schopenhauer called it the frustrated will. I call it the lie you tell yourself every night before you go to sleep. Because when you want something and you refuse to do what is necessary to get it, you are not being realistic. You are torturing yourself. You are building an internal prison where you are both the warden and the inmate, and the sentence is life without parole. So you have two options. The first, accept the process. Accept that the goal you want has a price attached to it, and that this price is exactly what makes the goal valuable. If what you wanted were easy, it would be available to everyone. And if it were available to everyone, it would be worth nothing. Difficulty is not an obstacle to value. Difficulty is what creates value. It is like resenting the price tag on a pair of shoes you want to buy. The price is the price. You do not negotiate with reality. You decide whether or not you want to pay. The second option, release the desire. If you do not want to live the lifestyle required to reach the goal, then let go of the goal. Without guilt, without drama, without that martyr narrative that so many men love to wear like it is armor when it is actually a chain. Let it go and move forward. Wanting the result while refusing the process is the guaranteed recipe for bitterness. It is poisoning yourself every single day with the distance between where you are and where you said you wanted to be. I want to close with something that goes against everything the world has taught you about work. The world tells you, work hard so that you can get X. Work hard so you can have money. Work hard so you can have freedom. Work hard so you can have recognition. And just like that, X becomes the goal. And the work becomes just the vehicle, the price, the necessary suffering. But what if the work is not the vehicle? What if the work is the goal? Think about this carefully. Everything you achieve, everything, you will get used to. The new car stops being new in 3 months. The dream house becomes just the house in 6 months. The salary that once seemed impossible becomes insufficient in a year. It is the hedonic treadmill. Everything you receive, you absorb. And then you need more. But you know what never runs out? Your capacity to push yourself. Your capacity to work. It grows, it expands. It gets stronger every single day that you decide to give everything you have. And when you make the work the goal, when the target is not the result but the maximum effort, then you have already won the game before the game even started. Because now you can measure yourself every single day, not by what you achieved, but by how much you gave. And the only person who can judge that is you, because you are the only one who knows how much you really had left in the tank. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we do not rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our preparation. And preparation happens when nobody is watching. The work that truly matters is the work that nobody sees. Because that is the work that shows you who you really are. Not who you say you are on Instagram, not who you pretend to be in meetings, but who you are at 3 in the morning when you are alone, exhausted, with no audience, no applause, no visible reward. That is where your character is revealed. That is where your identity is built, brick by brick, in silence. So here is what I am asking of you. Not tomorrow. Now. Figure out what you want, not what your parents want, not what society expects, not what your friends will approve of. What you want. Then ignore the opinion of everyone else. Everyone, every voice that is not building what you are building is noise. And noise does not deserve a response. Then do so much work, so much volume, so much output that it becomes statistically unreasonable for you not to succeed. Volume negates luck. Volume negates talent. Volume negates circumstance. And when you get there, and you will get there, help the ones coming behind you. Because you know what the silence of the path feels like. You know what the lonely applause sounds like. And maybe you can be the first person to clap for someone who has not arrived yet, but who is walking in the dark, alone, the way you once walked. This channel is not for everyone. It is for those who chose external discomfort over internal decay. For those who understand that the price is what gives the goal its value. For those who clap alone in the dark, knowing that one day the auditorium will be full. If you are one of them, you are in the right place. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share this with someone who needs to hear what nobody is telling them. Adversus Omnia. Against everything, In spite of everything,